I'm the Technical Advisor in Neonatology, Health and Social Policy Branch at New South Wales Health. I'm also a Senior Staff Specialist Neonatologist at Liverpool Hospital in southwestern Sydney, where I've worked for 31 years. And I'm also a board member of the Miracle Babies Foundation. Before we hand over to Kylie, I'd like to acknowledge the lands on which we are meeting in Australia, and acknowledge Aboriginal peoples past and present and emerging leaders. I am sorry for the impacts of the health and well-being of the arrivals of peoples after 1788. Our usual practice is to suggest to the Australians that if they could put in their chat the Aboriginal lands that they are currently on. I am currently on the lands of the Wadi Wadi people, and I would also like to invite our overseas members, if they would like to put in the chat which city they're sitting in, and which hospital they're in, so we can get to know you a little bit more as we go through the meeting. I'll now hand over to, I won't hand over to Kylie quite yet. 20 years ago, I was sitting in my office as head of department at Liverpool Hospital, and a group of women who'd had premature babies came in with the suggestion that they would like to provide peer-to-peer support for families who are experiencing the distress of neonatal intensive care. And of course, this was the easiest yes I ever had to do, because it was obviously an extremely good idea. The organisation became the Miracle Babies Foundation, and as part of allowing this great organisation to be involved in the unit, the volunteers had to meet the requirements for volunteers in the hospital, and also they do some orientation and other courses and inductions to the organisation to make sure that the care they provide for families is of best quality, and we know that that we can trust them with that work. So I'll now hand over to Kylie. So it's 20 years Miracle Babies has been around, and we have someone with an Order of Australia sitting on our chief executive.
Hi everyone, thanks Julie and Robert for the lovely introduction. Hopefully most of you know a little bit about Miracle Babies. As Robert mentioned, we're 20 years this year celebrating of working with healthcare professionals and families in the neonatal community. So I will share my screen. Does that come up?
Yep, looks good, Kylie. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. So, thank you for the opportunity to share today. I think it's worthwhile to say that over 20 years, Miracle Babies has evolved and grown a lot over the years. We've expanded in many different ways, and it's definitely something that's timely to share with you all today. Sorry. There we go. So Miracle Babies Foundation, we're Australia's leading organisation, and we support premature and sick newborns and their families in the hospitals that care for them. Our purpose in 2025 is to improve, support and enhance all lives impacted by a premature or sick birth, with a vision to happy and healthy families reaching their potential. I just wanted to share, as Robert mentioned, he is on our board of directors. We do have a volunteer board of directors who meet quarterly. They look after our governance, and they're also supported by a parent and patient advisory group, which is a group of about 11 parents who have all had lived experience, and it's chaired by a NICU dad, Luke Enslow. So there's just some details there of our board, but you can always go back through to our website and find all of this information. So just a little bit about me. I have been involved with the organisation from the start as one of the co-founders of an amazing group of women who all brought their own personal experiences to the table, and we all had unique emotions and different challenges and joys as well that we shared. And from that, Miracle Baby started to develop some ideas and programs about what we wanted to be able to do within that space and help support other families, to give them some hope, help them connect with each other, and to kind of normalise the experience as well. So I will only quickly touch on a little bit about why I'm here, because hopefully most of you know a bit of my story anyway. So I, as Robert said, have lived experience. I've spent many months with my children in the NICU. I started out getting married quite young and just thinking that, families happen when you're ready. Wasn't that case for us, and we had a bit of a difficult journey having to go down the IVF road. I had an early miscarriage at 10 weeks, and then through IVF fell pregnant with twins, and went into a midterm miscarriage at 16 weeks and delivered a boy and a girl at that time. With my next pregnancy, I was monitored at FMU from 12 weeks onwards, every fortnight, and at 22 weeks it was discovered that I had cervical incompetence, and I underwent emergency surgery. I spent 8 weeks on bed rest in the hospital and delivered Madeline at 30 weeks gestation, and that was our first interaction with the NICU. And it wasn't such a horrific ordeal for us at the time. It was the first chance that we had for a baby to actually get this far and to have a chance of survival. And she was doing quite well, and she spent 6 weeks in the hospital. But it was during that time that I did meet some lifelong friends, and that importance of peer support really helped get me through that time and the many years after that with all the appointments and follow-ups. A few years later, we wanted to extend our family, and sadly I had another miscarriage at 5 weeks, and I had some more surgery to assist with my cervical incompetence pre-pregnancy, and we fell pregnant again through IVF with twins. I was once again monitored from 12 weeks at FMU, and it was at that 22-week mark again that I was hospitalised on bed rest as I had beaking and funneling. But because I already had a cervical suture in, there was nothing more that could be done except bed rest. It was at 25 weeks that my waters broke, and after 2 days of trying to stop the contractions, my obstetrician said that they couldn't stop the contractions anymore, and it was too risky to keep going. So I underwent an emergency C-section. I had delivered Scarlett at 25 weeks. She weighed 645 grams, and Marcus was born at 780 grams. Both were resuscitated at birth. And Scarlett was on CPAP and Marcus was ventilated. Quite a horrific time, so I'm not going to go into that because that's not what I'm here for. Obviously, the next days, weeks and months were extremely difficult for myself and our family. Marcus lost his fight for life at 2 days, and Scarlett spent 4 months in the NICU with quite a lot of issues as well. She got NEC, she had retinopathy, she had laser surgery for her eyes and some other conditions. She came home at 4 months, and yeah, definitely a difficult few years thereafter with grief, and also, 2-year-old toddler at home, and also Scarlett's challenges and appointments and follow-ups. So it was definitely a very busy time for us. A few years later, I underwent more surgery, a transabdominal cerclage, and I'm not a clinician, so apologies if I pronounce any of these words wrong. And I went on to have Liam at 38 weeks. So he was our big boy, and the first time that we had gotten that far, and to have a term baby with us in the room was quite an amazing experience. So I'm here today to talk about Miracle Babies Foundation. So most of you might know a little bit about us. We do work closely with hospitals right across Australia, and we do that from a lived experience or a parent lead of the information and services that we provide. We do try and help hospitals with some equipment. We don't have any ongoing or regular government funding, so we are very focused on community and trust and foundations. So kangaroo care chairs, petrol vouchers and breast pumps are more of the smaller items that we can help with, but we do know that they make a difference for families. We provide a wraparound family support through our services and resources, which I'll touch on one by one. And we do a lot around advocacy and education campaigns for families. And we've just finished in May the Kangaroo-a-thon. So hopefully most of all the hospitals that participated have got the info in, and we'll have a winner out very soon. We do a lot as well with the hospital staff, in regards to providing in-services, parents' perspective of what these families might go through, and helping to navigate that time in the unit for families, and working out who they can speak to and what kind of questions maybe they can ask when they're having some ongoing challenges. We do some celebration days, so Thank You NICU Day, World Prematurity Day, and we do special gifts for families on Mother's Day, Father's Day and Christmas. We provide support to families in a range of different ways. And as our programs are now quite well known across the globe, we kind of do a lot with a very small amount of funding for what we do, and not a lot of people, not a huge team, but we certainly deliver a lot of impact. Over the last few years, we have seen the need for families to have support after the hospital journey, but also after those first few early years. And we do a lot of work now in regards to lifelong support for these families, so right through to adulthood. The core of what we do is our nurture program, which is our family support services and resources. We have a 24-hour support helpline. We have in-hospital support, out-of-hospital support, and then information and connection. Our 24-hour support line is staffed in the office, or answered by staff, in the office through business hours, and thereafter goes to our team members and volunteers after hours. And we believe there's still a need for it to be 24 hours because we know that as parents ourselves, the only time you might get to sit down and be expressing maybe your breast milk is, 10 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night or 2 o'clock in the morning. And that's when the emotions can really take hold of you and you can feel really alone and isolated. So to have that opportunity to talk to someone who gets that and has been through that is, really supportive for these families. Nurture Time is our in-hospital support. These are the hospitals we currently run this service in. It's been around for a long time, probably close to the 20 years as well. And it was the main thing that we wanted to do as a group of parents from the start, was to be able to support parents in the unit through that most critical time and give them that hope, support, connection. But as I mentioned earlier, helping them navigate through that, really big world of NICU with so much equipment, so much terminology and words we don't know. And it's really scary and overwhelming for families. And that's on top of dealing with the trauma or the grief of, our pregnancy, what that might have been, what we thought it might have been is now gone, and having to navigate through that. We also know for regional and rural families, the impact and, being taken out of their community, away from family and friends. The financial strain is, adds on another couple of layers actually. So the more support we can have for these families, the better. If your hospital's not listed there, please get in touch with us and we'll happily do a presentation for your hospital. Over the last, probably 3 years, I think it's been, we've actually expanded this support. So most of these hospitals run a service it's on a set schedule, and it runs for usually about 3 hours a week, where we go in and we talk to families cot side. We're big champions of zero separation. So cot side to us is really important. We know as parents, especially if you have other children at home, you don't always get a huge amount of time to be at the hospital with your baby or as often as you would like. So to go to the hospital to see your baby, but then have to go and be in a support group or something away from the baby's cot side is not the ideal world to us. So we offer that cot side support so that mum and dad or partner can still be with baby and also having a chat and receiving that peer support. So over the last few years, we've really identified that there's a gap in that we're obviously not reaching all the families that need this support. So we have been working towards a new model of our support program to include our team members more often in the hospitals. So instead of 3 hours a week, moving towards a model of support where it's 15 hours a week in the NICU, and that's delivered over 3 days with 5 hours a day. And the chance and the impact of having reached and supported more families obviously in that unit is much higher, so less families are going without, but also the bond and the strength of the relationships is something that's really highlighted, because instead of having to retell your trauma to different people all the time, this is helping to reduce that. It's one dedicated person. It's obviously lowering risk infection with less people coming into the unit, but it's that connection and that relationship that builds over those days or weeks or months with the one person who can really be part of the family's journey and check in as to where they are that week or that day, and not always focusing on the original trauma that they ended up there from. So this is starting to roll out in many hospitals. Been running it at Liverpool for a few years, and now this year we've rolled out into Nepean, and John Hunter and Centenary is about to start as well. And we are in discussions with many other NICUs at the moment and establishing that. So it's a really exciting time for Miracle Babies to be more ingrained, I guess, in the hospital unit, especially in in the NICU with families, and also those relationships with healthcare professionals is really strengthening. We can deliver, parent perspectives, talks, we can do parent education sessions, and obviously sharing of in-services about what we do. In 2021, we did an independent study with the Impact Institute, and these were the main things that came out from having our support services in the hospital, and that's increased social connection and support, improved parent mental health, increased parental involvement in baby's care, more informed health choices, and improved breastfeeding results. The great part about this program is it doesn't just stop when the baby is discharged. It actually continues to support the family well after discharge. So these are our support and play groups. There's two components. There's that support for families and peer connection with others, but there's also that play and activity time for children and a bit of social time. We're very strict with our wellness policy. So if these babies go home quite vulnerable, they are going into a safe space, and we are really, really quite strict with that. So they run in 18 venues currently across the country. They aren't on hospital grounds. They are in the community to reduce the family having to relive that trauma going back to the hospital. We provide resources as part of this program as well, and these are all peer designed by parents and in partnership with healthcare professionals as well. So there's a range of things which a lot of hospitals, well over 70 hospitals, order these resource packs regularly. They are for premature and sick babies and families, so we never want to get stuck in just the prem. It is premature and sick, so we focus on all neonatal families. And there's a range of things from information and support tools in the NICU survival pack, which is given on admission, through to the Milk Express pack for a mum who would be expressing her breast milk. Lots of good information on how to transport her breast milk, a cooler bag to do it safely, a water bottle because she needs lots of water, and some information about breast milk and how important it is for baby. Grad bag is that graduation and celebrating, and it has some tools and information as well for going home and making that transition to home outside of the hospital unit, where we're always feeling quite protected, and all of a sudden we go home and we're on our own, which is really a challenging time. We also have a memory box for when a baby passes away in NICU, and that provides tools to be able to make some memories and have keepsakes of babies. So lots of thought has gone into that, and that once again has been designed with bereaved parents. Our newest resource is a sibling activity pack. Quite a simple thought there, but it is actually designed for siblings with a baby in NICU. So there's some good messages in there about hand washing and when baby can come home and things like that. So it's a really nice way to keep the sibling involved in baby's care while they're in hospital. This is the main thing I wanted to share today, which is definitely expanded well beyond our original thoughts. Back in 2020, this was launched. It was during the time of COVID, so we had a lot of parent staff that we couldn't send to hospitals or couldn't run community groups. And I remember having an initial chat with one of our other co-founders, and we were talking about the problems or some of the challenges that our children were having as they were going through primary school and high school. And being part of Miracle Babies, we've been very blessed that we've been part of medical conferences and things over the years, and we've, learned a lot more about research and what's happening and what the risk factors can be for these children as they grow and get older. And we're like, well, how do families know about this information? It's fine, it's out there, and so much money is spent in researching it, but how do families know about it? So this is what we actually designed. So it's all been completely parent designed. It's part of our nurture program, so it's Nurture E, and we call it the Triple E Impact. We wanted to be able to provide current published-based evidence on each topic that we were putting into this information hub. So it's all evidence-based. Our education sheets are all in parent language and go through a range of topics of all life stages. And we wanted to give the families a where can they go to, or what support do they need to get this extra help that they might need for themselves or their children. So we have empowerment tools. So that has useful links that we work really closely with a lot of different organisations in collaborating to make sure that these parents and families can go in the right pathway to get the next best support or help that they might need for a particular condition or issue. In 2024, it's had over 500,000 page views to our website, and it's got a great accessibility and language tool, which I'll touch on a bit later. These are the current life stages that we do, and it does continue to grow. So obviously pregnancy is a big part of it. Some of these families will go on to have more pregnancies after a premature or sick birth, and that is a really scary time for that next pregnancy. In hospital is a really big, important part, obviously, but we recently launched post-pregnancy care, and being mostly mums in our organisation, but we definitely embrace dads and want more dads involved. We do realise that once our bub is in the hospital, the focus goes onto our baby. So we don't really put a lot of focus back onto ourselves, and that we have actually just had a baby and we still do need to look after ourselves. So post-pregnancy care is a really important part to hopefully help mum refocus back on her own physical health and healing even while baby is in the NICU. The early years is really important too. That transition to home is really quite scary. And you've gone from that whole safe cocoon being in the unit of having doctors and nurses around, lactation consultants, social workers, all of the wonderful staff there to help with any questions or worries you might have. And all of a sudden you're at home, you're now the primary caregiver, and most of the time our parental confidence is a bit low. We have that fear of, why our baby's been on monitors for so long. What does this mean for us going home? So it's definitely important and scary part for parents. So helping them to navigate that and find their parental confidence is really important. To also be aware of the risk factors for themselves in hospital once they get home, of the mental health concerns that might pop up as well. Preschool years we know is very big, those early developmental years, so a really important time again as well. And for some of these families, this is where any challenges or obstacles might become apparent as, higher level thought processes are needed as we start to teach our children to make more decisions and be a little bit of independent. Then we move on to the primary school years, high school years, and adulthood. These were the main new sections that we did from 2020 and onwards. And it was something that was quite new to the neonatal world. Not a lot of people had talked about all of these issues or challenges that kids might have. And we definitely see a peak in children who have passed all of their follow-on assessments, with flying colours and being discharged from all of those follow-on groups, to suddenly all of a sudden starting school and having extra issues or challenges. And that's really hard for parents. They sometimes don't think, or could it have been from the neonatal time in hospital for my baby's premature sick birth? So helping parents to be the advocates for themselves and their children is what's really important about these years as well. It's about being able to talk to the schools, having the right information and the right language to share with the teachers about what these children's needs might be. And I know firsthand, sometimes they just get put into the naughty corner, but it might actually be concentration, or it could be, executive thinking. It could be something that has stemmed back from either a premature or sick birth. So helping to make those pathways and connections can give the child, a much better chance of having that success through school years as well. And adulthood was definitely quite an eye-opener for a lot of us as parents, seeing that, what our children should be knowing, as they become young adults and responsible for their own health. And the things that always stick out to me with my daughter at 25 weeks, like I've always told her now, from the age of 18 years, get your blood pressure checked. From the age of 35, you need to start talking about, your respiratory and chronic lung disease and things from earlier. So it's just letting them know that, so that they can be those advocates for themselves through their adulthood. And you never know, it might hopefully help make better life choices, that they can reduce some of these risk factors as well. We've currently got in development the toddler years and rare conditions. So there's still a lot to come, and we're always receiving tips and suggestions from families and healthcare professionals of a particular topic or condition that we might not have yet. So it will continue to grow and expand. What's really exciting about this, and hopefully where some of you might have some time from now and then to help support us, this is our clinical advisory team. These are all volunteer healthcare professionals and collaborating organisations that have helped us. Everyone's listed on the website. And I guess just to make it quite easy to understand is that if it's a page on something around speech, it goes to a speech therapist. So all of our information is in partnership with the clinician in that specialty area, and they have final approval before it gets posted out to our families or on our website. So that's really important. We please do ask and encourage, if you have a specialty around any of those particular topics, that you might be willing to just read through a couple of pages now and then. That would be absolutely fantastic to please help us, because that's probably the hardest part of this for us. We know clinicians are so busy and we do appreciate everyone's time. So yeah, if we had some more pep on this team, that would certainly lighten the load, and that would speed up the way that the process of how quicker we can get information out to families. So any questions so far? No. So I've just got here a QR code. If anyone's got their smartphone out and wants to just jump on and grab that, and there's just a quick form to fill out and let us know what area you might be able to help with. If that is a possibility, that would be greatly appreciated. Not too long ago, we put in a wonderful new support tool for our families on our whole website, and it's a language and accessibility tool. So now when you go to our website, you can actually open the toolbar with this green person that sits on the bottom of the screen, and it can open it up into over 140 languages you can choose from. It can provide text to talk if someone's not got the great reading capabilities, and it can change the colour of the screen. It's got vision tools. It's really quite remarkable. And the wonderful thing about this is that it can actually help. We know in some hospitals, we have a lot of parents and families these days where English isn't their first language. So if you're having difficulty needing to have a conversation with a family and language is a barrier and you don't have access to translators, this could be a way to also assist the family to understand what you're trying to talk to them about in parent language. So you can actually go to that page yourself, have a look at it in English. If you're happy and it's what you're trying to convey to the family, then you can translate it into their language. So it's hopefully a tool that you can use in the hospital setting, but we certainly know it's accessed well from families outside of the hospital. Robert, did you want to share anything about this particular tool? Because we know it's exciting for healthcare professionals as well to be aware of it.
I've used it a number of times to translate into various languages. I've got to be careful what I say, but sometimes when it's done, I show it to one of my colleagues who may speak that language. They say, "Oh, it's a little bit different. You know, the tenses may be a bit wrong," but it's a matter of it's good enough rather than being always perfect. But generally, it is extremely good, and certainly for the pregnancy information, it's extremely helpful because there is really a dearth of information in that space which is available for people whose first language isn't English. So it's certainly better than trying to use Google Translate. I could say that for sure, which is what we used to have to do previously.
Thanks, Robert. And yeah, we don't hide it. It is an AI tool, so it's not going to be always perfect. But the languages that we've had people check to, they've said the same thing. It gives quite good information. And you've also got that, that it's been approved by a healthcare professional as well.
Yep.
So please, I strongly recommend you jump on when you've got some time and have a look and have a play around with it, because it's just such a great tool. Here's just an example of one of the pages. So I think this one was in primary school years. I picked this, or the early years. It's NICU Growth and Development Clinic. So it just explains a bit to the parents about what might happen through their appointment, and here it is translated into another language. So it's really that simple of pushing what language you want, and the whole website changes to that particular language. So pretty amazing. If we have time, I think we have Julie. I was going to try and just give a little quick navigation around it if this is going to hopefully work.
Yep, lots of time, Kylie. Go.
Has that changed? Can you now see the website?
131.
No, not yet.
I might have to stop and then share the screen.
Do you want to click on the link and see whether it works?
Yeah, I have. So it's turned up on mine. So I'll just stop sharing that one, and then I'll share it on the screen if that's all right.
Yep, sure. Take your time.
That's come up, has it? Yeah.
Yep, looks good. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. So this is our website. It's quite easy to navigate. Support. Hopefully it'll change.
Link. Support.
I've got it talking to me, so sorry if you can hear that.
Link. Information. Link. Support.
Oh, give me 1 sec. Do the other page.
it doesn't always come up speaking to you. You have to actually choose it to speak to you.
Could you hear it? Because when I tried to Zoom it before, it wouldn't go through. It's my Chrome. Sorry, bear with me.
It's okay. Do you want to try another server? Like, are you on the
Yeah,
Mac?
I've got it open on Chrome. I don't know. I just can't find it in my. I've got too many windows open. No, it's in Edge, isn't it? Oh, there we go. No. How do I move that? Has that changed now to the website?
Yes.
Yes. So that's right. Okay. So it won't talk to us now because it's a bit hard to hear. So support, it's quite easy to navigate. You can go through and you can guide families if they're on discharge, how to register for one of the nurture groups. So that's really great for discharge coordinators to help families navigate through that, as well as the support that we have in hospitals. And there's a page there for support for hospitals. As I mentioned at the start, we do have a small grant process that we can help with, kangaroo chairs and breast pumps and petrol vouchers. So I'm going to open up primary school years. And I just wanted to explain, obviously, there's a really long topic list and we are working through how to make that a bit easier because it's just getting longer and longer. So we might break that up a little bit. But if we go to autism, you can see it's listed with the evidence, education and empowerment. And it also goes into what kind of allied health specialist or what kind of clinicians you might need to see and speak with on that. Every single page has a Nurture Connect button. That's an email that can go straight through to our program team. So if anyone, it's caused a bit of upset or distress to anyone or they have more questions, they can come straight through to our team. And every page, as we mentioned, has been approved by someone in that specialty. And then obviously through to adulthood as well. So, for example, anxiety. So it's got the evidence, it's got education and empowerment, and then useful links as well for families. So it goes through every life stage. I'll go back to my presentation. So there's just a few notes there about how it can actually help healthcare professionals and hospitals by partnering with us on our program. It can increase the fight care delivery, the tools and resources for families. It provides access to emotional peer support for families. Breastfeeding rates is obviously definitely a plus. Increased care for parent mental health, which we know is really important. The Information Hub, which we've just quickly gone through, can reduce the information overload for families if they've just got one person that the one continuous dedicated person they're talking to for peer support. Championing zero separation, so keeping them by the cot side at baby's bed. And also it can help improve communication between parents and healthcare professionals. We've heard it before from some people, from healthcare professionals, where they've had conversations with the parent and the parent hasn't really got it, but didn't feel comfortable to say, I don't understand, but has passed on that information to our team member. And we've been able to navigate and have those conversations again for the family and the healthcare professionals. So those connections are really important as well. It's working towards more confident parents and also a better and improved understanding of parents and research, because we do go through have consumers on research projects and as well. So involvement in research, we do have consumer representatives. We're up to 20 supported and trained consumer representatives that we've got now as part of our consumer rep team. We are just about to onboard a NICU dad, which is fantastic. Once again, we're really working really hard to involve dads and partners a lot more. And it's never been from a want of not having them there. It's been just how do we do the right thing to get them involved, because obviously they communicate a bit different and have different needs from mums. So please, you can jump on and have a look at the research page on the website. There's lots of different projects we are involved in. And as I mentioned, we have now 20 consumer reps all over Australia from many different lived experiences, but also actual different professions. Like we've got one's a social worker, one's I think a dietitian, and then an OT. So they actually come with some expertise as well with the lived in experience, which is great. And they're from all over Australia, remote and regional and metro. Just quickly, we'll touch on this as well, but we do a lot in advocacy as well at the moment, not at the moment, the last few years actually, we've been calling on the Australian government to improve care for these babies through an additional critical care payment to the paid parental leave. As you know, a lot of these families, especially with extreme preemies, are in hospital, 4 to 6 months, if not longer sometimes, and they are using all of their paid parental leave most of the time while they're in the hospital unit. And we don't believe that's fair. We believe that every family or every baby should get to go home from hospital or after birth with the same amount of paid parental leave. We know these families are already at an increased risk of parent mental health, but also, vulnerability for the baby and health conditions. So placing them in that space of having to either leave their career or go back to work earlier and put the baby into childcare is not always ideal. So at the moment, we don't believe it's a fair system, and we are calling on the government to do that. We will continue that advocacy. It is a hard road, but we will definitely continue it, and we know how important it is. And Australia is quite behind compared to what's offered in a lot of the other nations. So we really think that Australia can do better on this. We've had some research undertaken around this with Professor Elisa Spittle, and we know that it is a good thing for families and it's a good thing for Australia, but it's also a cost benefit as well, because we can help by investing more in preventative care. We can certainly help with the mental health support needed being reduced, and that would bring a positive net impact. The need for it, I think it speaks for itself. 83% of families experience financial strain above the normal when they have a baby in NICU. 95% of mums, they can't go to work while their babies are in the hospital, and parents of extreme preterm babies are 2.5 times more likely to suffer postnatal depression. So there's lots of good evidence around why this is a really important and needed thing to do. So I've actually got a QR code there. As a healthcare professional, we don't need to know where you were, but if you are happy to support our message, please just pop it through and tick a yes. It helps us gather more information when we do go to the government, how important it is, not for families, or not just for families, but also the benefit that healthcare professionals can see. And I'm sure you've seen it before, where a family or a parent is so extremely stressed about everything, and then adding on the financial difficulty of, having to choose between being at the hospital, going to work, is just unacceptable. There's also some great ways that you can all get involved, lots of fun as well. We do a Miracle Moonwalk in Sydney every year. We have quite a few hospitals that have teams together, get dressed up, do some fundraising, and come along and do this fun 10K walk around the harbour in Sydney with families. It's also extended to Perth this year. In our 20th year, we're having a celebration event in Perth in September as well, and you can also do a virtual walk as well. So you can help and support and have some fun with your community wherever you are. So please think about that and share that amongst the staff in the units as well, because that's a really good way to get involved and help us raise funds to continue to expand what we do. As we know, it's just a little snapshot of some of the things that we know that these families go home with. I mean, most of you, probably have some impact or participation in some kind of research, and these things keep coming out. These are the ongoing challenges in hospital, but also after discharge that these families face. Some for years, but some lifelong as well. So all the support we can give these families in preventative care is really important, and that support at the critical point in hospital is really the fundamental for how they are discharged and how their mental health can be supported throughout the oncoming years. Just sharing a little bit about my 3 now young adults and my little poppets. Now definitely getting older, but I think I like to share that because it's kind of like what we talk about in our vision, happy, healthy families reaching their potential. it's June, it's almost the end of financial year, so please feel welcome to make a donation to our tax appeal. But otherwise, thank you so much for your time. I've talked a lot. Hopefully some people have got some things out of that. And if you have any questions, please feel welcome to reach out, contact me, and we can arrange a chat with any of our team or a connection with our team member in your state or hospital. And thank you, Julie, for the opportunity. I mean, we've expanded a lot over the years, so it's a lot to put in there. And I feel like I've talked 100 mile an hour, but thank you.
Great
Thank you very much, Kylie.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? They pop their hands up, please. There's nothing came in through the chat.
Yes, there are 2 questions on the chat, one from Karen and one
there
from
we go.
Gayatri. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so Karen has put in there, have we done any work with clinicians on developing a tool that captures outcomes that matter to babies and families, especially 2-year-old or longer term being more important? I don't think we actually do have an outcome section, do we, on the page? I mean, we discuss the conditions, but actually sort of talk about what the longer term outcomes are. It's probably worthwhile thinking about.
What was that, Robert? What the outcomes are for parents? Or?
No, the outcomes for babies and families. So the outcomes that matter for babies and families. So the outcomes, so that's different to just what your, if you like, your Bailey's score, or whether you've got a motor problem or vision. It's actually how you're doing. So outcomes that matter for families would be the sort of things that I know your children have and have got and have gone through, and also things like schooling. How well do they do? I mean, I think that's actually a very interesting point that Karen's made, and we need to talk about. It is,
and we're starting to talk a bit more about follow-on care and how we can, improve more and longer support for families around that. So yeah, definitely some ways we're starting to think, but also too, we don't have anything so much on the website, but as an organisation, we have been involved in certain research groups and things over the years, and we were part of the ICHOM standard sets many years ago, not many, but quite a few years ago now, and that was actually a large global group of parents that were part of that, and a lot of that was around what is important to do at these follow-on assessments, or what is important to track for families, and a lot of the time it was happiness, social skills, feeling loved, feeling supported. So yeah, if you want to check out the ICHOM standards on neonatal, it was a big eye opener for me, very interesting to be a part of. And for parents, it's not always, the high academic. It's being that their children feel loved, supported, happy, have friends, those types of things.
Yeah. When as clinicians, there's so much neonatal research work that happens, but we end up going, is that an outcome that really matters? Does chronic lung disease define this particular way, have an impact? And often we're relying on Bailey's. And as you're kind of indicating, that actually is not an amazing capture of what's important. And I just can see such scope for, yes, we do qualitative work, which is probably better at capturing that sort of more narrative component. But I do feel like there's space for a tool to sit alongside other reported outcomes. And I do feel like lots of clinicians would really welcome that, but it's a completely different universe. And there's some tools out there. So family integrated care, for example, we've got some tools that they use, but it would be so nice to develop one that really matters and seems to capture those outcomes. So yeah, if that's possible, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, it's definitely important, and it's interesting the clinician to the parent perspective as to what as a parent feels important going home.
Thank you. It's amazing work you're doing. It's great to hear about it. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. We've got a great national team. Yeah, so wherever you are, Karen, let us know, and I'm sure we can link you in with our team.
So Gatari Jape, I'm not sure where Gatari is from. Gatari, do you want to turn your video on and talk, or would you like me just read your message out? So Gatari has a question about Indigenous languages, and there's one he mentions called Noongar, Noongar. So we'll need to go and check that one and get back to Gatari. I mean, I know where I work in southwestern Sydney, there are 60 community languages. So I'm sure we haven't captured all of them in the 140 that are available. But I do know that there, as an example, there are a number of the different languages from around India are included in the translations. I suppose you've got. There's probably more people speaking some of these languages than are speaking English in Australia, so they probably do have them there. But we'll check that for Gaetari.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't have every language, but we have experienced in the past where someone reached out and questioned one language with us, and we went back to the company that we use, Recite Me, and they've actually had that language now put into the program. So, yeah, if there is any languages from your area that is really high need, we can certainly ask the question and see if we can get that included as well.
Thank you, Kylie. That's very helpful. Right. Are there any more questions? Okay. So, Katari's going to do segue. What Karen mentioned, impact on siblings will be also an important area to focus on, if not already. Sibling impact, yes, very good suggestion. It's not just sibling impact, it's grandparent impact, it's aunts and aunties as well. It's a whole family that's impacted by having these children. On the other hand, they're also impacted by the joy of having the child as well. I think that we keep forgetting that because we do, a lot of these things on these sites are, because we're clinicians, we're wanting to know what we need to help with, what we need to have early intervention to provided for the child. But there's also a lot of positive things that can take place. I know as an example, just in language, our lead follow-up paediatrician, neonatologist at Liverpool, Jackie Stack, explained to me how in some families they would have mum and dad's at home, they speak English and only English. But when the child goes off to childcare with mum's parents, they only speak Vietnamese. They go off with dad's parents, they only speak Italian. So the child then knows by where they are which language they should be engaging with. But she also points out children who weren't born early don't tend to have that difficulty. They tend to just pop between the languages. But the child who's born early has these other needs that have to be met, and that needs to be that the whole family engaged to make sure that the child's language develops in this multilingual space.
Siblings are a huge, important part of it, aren't they? They get impacted. Where's my baby brother or sister? Yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah, especially during COVID, they were still in hospital. Yep. Okay, well, on that cheerful note, Kylie, thank you. It's been positive, and again, congratulations on your Order of Australia. I know that someone dobbed you in for it, so rather than you going out looking for it, so that's a really good thing and well deserved. And I know from what you've said before, it's also an acknowledgement of the volunteers that have worked with us over the last 20 years, and also our current team, who are also really just a great bunch of people.
Yeah. Can I say that, Kylie, your contribution and your support for all our research studies have been like overwhelming. Thank you so much for helping us through all these like crazy grant applications. We wouldn't have been able to do it without you. Thank you so much. The Order of Australia, well deserved.
Thank you. As Robert said, though, we've had an amazing team over 20 years, and still to this day, they inspire you as well, inspire me as well. But yeah, we're up to 20 consumer reps now. So the work we can do in research is, so whenever someone comes to us and says, oh, will you be a CI? And we're like, well, yes, but only if you give us an AI spot so we can train up the next person coming through. So, it's really important that we continue that, so that that's just continuing. Our long-term dream was for Miracle Babies to be around long after any of us oldies are gone. And, we can sit back from the nursing home and see what it's become. But for it to continue to support and evolve to support families' needs, yeah, it's really important.
You got a few more years to go.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Bang on time. Well done, Robert, as our chair, and Kylie for speaking. So I will look through this, see whether there's anything dodgy in the background. People are not doing things they're not supposed to be doing. And hopefully we will see you all next week. We have 3 lectures on kidneys in the little babies. I'll post up the program when I get my act together. Thank you. Hope you all warm up soon. Thank you very much for joining today.
Okay.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone. Bye.